Okay, Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim, Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen. Allahumma salli wa sallim wa barak ala nabiyyina Muhammad wa ala alihi wa sahbihi ajma'in. Allahumma la sahla ila ma ja'altahu sahla wa anta tajul al-hazna idha shi'ta sahla. Allahumma a'inna ala dhikrika wa shukrika wa husna ibadatik ya Rabbil Alameen. Okay, so we are on page 6 of the notes, page 89 of the Sharh. Jazakallahu khaira to Widad. I read that on her Twitter. Otherwise, I had no idea where we were. But she very helpfully put the page number of the notes and the thingy on, which is good. I hope that she can maintain that little sunnah. Very good. Very happy. Also want to thank her and Warda and the other folks who have been working so hard on the notes. And mashallah, we're catching up soon, which is also meaning that there will be a test soon, which will be one of the defining kind of tests, if you like, of continuation of the class. Our Qal is in a nice stage at the moment, and it will then complete itself maybe in the next 5-6 weeks, something like that. Anyway, so we have to be quick this time, well, certainly today, because Isha is in exactly 59 minutes, and so we have to do the dars and then maybe open some Q&A as well. There's a few tricky things that we need to discuss. Actually, the dars is actually really easy, but Shaykh Uthaymeen, he mentioned some really interesting, useful qawaid, principles and rules and maxims of fiqh that you'll benefit from. So I thought, we do need to give that time. So let's read from page 6, 7 and 8 in the text, just so that we can cover that. In the Arabic, Al-Hajjawi rahmatullah alayh, he says, وَيُبَاحُ إِسْتِعْمَالُهُ بَعْدَ الدَّبْغِ فِي يَابِسٍ مِنْ حَيْوَانٍ طَاهِرٍ فِي الْحَيَاءِ وَلَبْنُهَا وَكُلُّ أَجْزَائِهَا نَجِسَةٌ غَيْرَ شَعْرٍ وَنَحْوِهِ وَمَا أُبِينَ مِنْ حَيٍّ فَهُوَ كَمَيْتَتِهِ فَهُوَ كَمَيْتَةٍ يعني. So in English, however, after tanning, so that's referring to what? Tanning what? Tanning the skin of a carcass, correct? Yeah, a dead animal, a carcass of a dead animal, of a mayta, not a normal animal, okay, or not in another state. We're talking of a dead animal which has been found in this manner, okay? However, after tanning, they are lawful to use with dry goods if the animal was pure when alive. The milk and all parts of dead, unslaughtered animals are filthy, except for hair and the like. And something separated from a living animal has the same ruling as if it were separated from an unslaughtered animal, from carrion, basically, from a dead meat, effectively. So that is the ending, effectively, of this chapter, which I want to try and finish today. And you should keep it in context of what last week's lesson was, and that was that tanning does not ritually purify skins of unslaughtered animals. That's the position of the madhab, right? What did we say? Have we forgot? Does anyone, by the way, revise their notes when they go home? Or does everyone just throw it in a corner and then pick it up on Wednesday evening and then say yeah? Did anyone actually read their notes? Because I want to ask that person. Maybe I've forgotten as well. Maybe I threw my notes in a corner, you never know. Yeah?
Is that purified based on
Good. It does purify. It is permissible to use based upon the hadith of Maymuna. We look at that in detail, and you can go back to your notes. And again, I advise you and advise myself that revision is essential. The need for having to go back and check your notes when you've studied them is very important, because it's fresh. And then a little quick review before the dars, or maybe in the week. Wallah, is mufid. It's jiddan mufid. Yeah, I'm telling you, seriously, it will benefit you. Anyway, so obviously there's a lot of discussion, but let's jump straight into what Shaykh Uthaymeen says, rahmatullah alayhi, with respect to now moving on. He's made his position clear. He feels that when you have a dead animal, you can tan it in that incredibly intensive process of tanning, and it will purify it. Now obviously people, because of the manner, the way that the fiqh develops, we didn't even say whether that animal that we found, the dead animal, whether it was a pig or whether it was a cow or whatever it was. We didn't know that. In fact, we didn't even mention that. Okay, and that's because the way that is developing, that discussion is going to happen now. So the cart before the horse kind of thing happened, right? So let's just assume, for the sake of argument, that the Hanbali position is referring actually to all animals, all dead animals. It's very simple for the Hanbalis, you see. They're saying that any dead animal that you find, khalas, is finished. Yani you can't purify its skin, finished. Whereas our position of Shaykh Uthaymeen and a number of the scholars, maybe the majority in fact, okay, said that no, yes it can be. A dead animal we can use its skin if we tan it, okay, but there are some exceptions, and exceptions we're going to come to. So anyway, page 89 in the Sharh, this is now with respect to the text, that it is permissible after tanning, they are lawful to use with dry goods, okay, if the animal was pure when alive. Pure when alive, what is that saying? It's basically saying, well, let's discuss actually how Shaykh Uthaymeen takes it. So he says that once you have a animal which is pure, halal, and you have this skin, which by the way, even if we find it's dead, it's not allowed to use. If we did have a halal one that we found dead and we tanned it, then we're going to allow you to use it if and as long as it remains dry. As long as it remains dry and it does not come into contact with anything except that thing is also dry. And this is a very important point and principle which I think many Muslims don't know, that najasa, impurity or filth, is transferred only when the moisture of filth or the actual filth is transferred. So just coming into contact with dry filth does not necessarily impart the filthiness onto your skin. That's why one of the most common questions I get asked is that, Sheikh, the dog came and sniffed me. Is it allowed for me to pray? Yes, it is. Because the dog sniffing is not the same as the dog licking. Alright? Because what's haram about the dog and what's impure about the dog is its skin and its nose and its whatever that imparts moisture. So either it licks you, or either you're soaking wet and you touch the dog in that kind of area, and then that's a problem. Okay? Then we need to wash that area off clean. But if, for example, and I mean, Paks don't have a major problem with dogs anyway, so we're not going to go and touch them anyway, right? So that's fine, all right? But obviously, that shouldn't be the case. It shouldn't be the case. And a lot of people, they refrain from stroking dogs and whatever. I mean, I certainly don't. I have no problem, okay, with stroking a dog or anything like that. But you can imagine where it's coming from when someone wouldn't stroke a dog. They're thinking just the touch is the problem. The touch is not the problem. It's the transfer of rutab. The same with the most obvious situation, feces. Okay, if feces are bone dry, and often they are, sometimes you might kick some in the, I mean, not in this country, obviously this country everything's damn soaked, yani, but I'm talking across in the Muslim countries, whatever. If you see that kind of thing, it's like rocks. They're like rocks, literally. Yani, feces of animals or whoever. Now, that touching that or kicking that by mistake, that is not necessarily in of itself a problem. It's if it leaves a trace. And as you can imagine from the nature of substances, traces are left when it's soft enough to leave a trace. But when something is very, very hard, then by its nature it doesn't leave a trace. Do you understand what I'm saying? So I'm not saying every time you touch it it's not a problem. I'm saying that the illah is rutab. Yani the rataba, the moisture, the wetness which is transferred in any touching of these scenarios, that's the problem. This is the reason why the Hanabila, even though they consider the skin to be impure, in principle, they said that once we've done the dibagh on it, once we've done the tanning, we'll allow it as long as it doesn't get involved in any wet stuff. That's why, even for the Hanabila, and then Sheikh says, that we want to remember that this position, regardless, he agrees with this position, okay, but actually meaning that he agrees with the fact that it's okay in dry, but But what does Shaykh Uthaymeen also agree with? Yeah, Shaykh Uthaymeen also agrees that it's okay when it's wet as well. That's what we agree as well, because as we said, the animal, if it's pure and it's found dead and we do dibagh of it, then we're happy to even use it when it's wet as well. And actual fact, to be honest, skin's pretty useless if you're only going to use it in dry circumstances, isn't it? Okay. And in actual fact, back in the day, the skin was mostly being used. And in fact, the hadith which we use to allow us to use a skin of a carrion, okay, is this hadith which is on the next page in the text, page 90. Sheikh says, ويدل ذلك أن الرسول صلى الله عليه وسلم توضأ وأصحابه من مزادة امرأة مشركة, that the Prophet صلى الله عليه وسلم and the companions, they made wudu from a water skin that was owned by a non-Muslimah, a mushrika, polytheist woman, okay? And Sheikh says, and the dhabaih of the mushrikeen are najas, yani the slaughtered animals of mushrikeen, they're haram, they're not haram, but they're impure, and that therefore proves to us that actually it's allowed even to use them in rutab, because obviously it's holding water. The skin itself is holding water. These water skins were for milk and water, aslan, yani, because they're so, skin has such amazing properties of waterproofness or whatever it is. Yep. So I just wanted to explain what the Hanbali position was. That's what it means by dry, and there is a point there that you understand. There's a beneficial lesson to learn about najasa and dryness, but that our position actually is that the skin is not a problem even if it is used in wet or dry. Now we can discuss about the use of his word min hiwanin tahirin, from a pure animal. Sheikh says that min hiwanin tahirin fil haya. Afa'adana al-mu'allif, we benefited from the author in that he has told us that the skin, that the hide that is allowed to use after tanning whilst it is dry is only that of an animal which is pure. So what does a pure animal mean? He goes, I'm going to divide it into four. An animal which was pure during its life. Fil haya. What does it mean that an animal is pure during its life? There are four types of something being pure in its life. The first one is everything which is permissible to eat, okay? Such as a camel or a cow or a sheep or a hyena or something like that, okay? I think it was the most random addition ever to a list in human history, right? Hyena. But there's a reason for that, because actually there's a khilaf over the position of the thingy. Let's get back here, Get right back. The hyena itself has been an issue of controversy because a number of scholars actually consider it to be haram. But anyway, I'm not getting into that now. And according to the Hanbali school, it is permissible. Now, so that's the first type. So that's straightforward, right? Halal animal, clean animal, we benefit from it, we eat it, etc., etc. This is a pure animal. This is what we eat. When this animal dies, whether we slaughter it or whether it's found dead, it's after we have done the tanning of the skin and soaked it and bleached it and this and that and whatever. We went through the whole tanning process last week, yeah. So then this is okay for us. The second type of animal which would be considered pure in its life would be that such as a cat or a kitten and small animals of that nature, but less than that. So I guess what he means by that is like hamsters, gerbils, like I don't know, that kind of thing. Yeah. And he goes that, and he says that, and the proof of that, in principle, this should be an exception. This should be an exception because these animals are najas. You're not allowed to eat a cat. Okay, so in principle, this should be a problem. But these animals are an exception because of the statement of the Prophet ﷺ, "Innaha laysat binajasin." The cat itself is not najas, not impure. "Innaha min at-tawafin alaykum." These are from the animals which make tawaf around you, which are always in and out of your bodies and over you and in you and in your bed and always touching you and everything, whatever. And so these are the domesticated animals which you're in so much contact with that if Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and His Messenger sallallahu alaihi wasallam had made these haram, it would be a disaster, isn't it? it made them impure, life would become very difficult, because these are not wild animals that live outside, they're domesticated animals that live with us. And so Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gave them an exception of a category. Alright? So this is the second type, and this hadith is noted by Imam Ahmad and Abu Dawood, and it's a hadith which is good, inshallah. It's a nice statement. Bukhari said that جود مالك بن أنس هذا الحديث وروايته أصح من رواية غيره. I like that, wallah. Because there are some people who spoke about this hadith. They weren't very happy with this hadith. But Bukhari, he mentioned this hadith. He said that according to Imam Malik ibn Anas, I'm going to respect from Bukhari. He goes, according to Imam Malik ibn Anas, this hadith is good. And his narration by his chain is more authentic than anything else that I've seen. So he didn't actually include it himself. Alright? He didn't actually include it himself, but he considered it to be of good. He considered it to be authentic, and there's a lesson for everyone there in that as well. That you should know this by now. But Imam Bukhari, anything which is in Sahih Bukhari or not in Sahih Bukhari doesn't mean it's not authentic, and which I guess everyone knows. But it also doesn't mean that Bukhari doesn't think it's authentic. Actually, Bukhari thinks many ahadith are authentic, but to get into Sahih Bukhari, you have to be beyond criticism in as a hadith, as a chain, as a matan, as narrators. You have to be like the cream of the cream, yani everything. Right. So the third type, Sheikh says, is everything which doesn't have flowing blood. Everything which doesn't have flowing blood, i.e., if it was killed or slaughtered, there is no flowing blood. Now you might think, what on earth does that mean? And what this is referring to are animals like flies, like locusts. These are a very specific category in Sharia. Yani you will never study any subject in any religion that has this kind of specific category in fiqh, but Islam does. And whenever you study fiqh, you will always come across this category of these. I never even knew that they had no flowing blood until I started studying fiqh. And then, when I was trying to work out what does that even mean, when I went back, then apparently there's something there. I don't know, biologically speaking. But basically, they don't have masses of flowing blood. They've got some other kind of system, I don't know. But we're talking about small, certain insects specifically. Locusts and ants and or flies and certain types of flies, whatever. And so these are pure during their life. Remember, that's what we're describing. 4 types of pure animals which are pure when they're alive. The 4th type is good old human beings. Okay? So human beings are obviously that category. Whilst we're alive, we're pure. Okay? But the problem, of course, is that unless you're from Somalia, you're not going to eat humans. Or is it somewhere else as well? The Sheikh Abdul Bas yani? Okay. Right. Sheikh is quiet today because I just went in there and had a good laugh with him. I should say actually a good laugh at him. But anyway. So obviously this is not an acceptable, this is not discussed in the books of fiqh, because this category number 4 is an obvious non-starter, because it's not permissible to do anything with human skin. Absolutely nothing, in fact. Okay? Not because of its najasa, ليس لنجاسته ولكن لحرمته, because of its sanctity. Okay? So the skin actually is because human beings are sanctified, so not only in life, but also in death. You are not allowed to use that skin. So it's not thinking. So anyway, so then Sheikh then says, he goes, so therefore, if a person was to go and tan, the skin of a mouse or a cat, okay, if he was to do that, it would not become pure. It would not become pure because it is meta, all right, because it's carrion. But according to the madhab, what could you do? So we've got a mouse or we've got a cat. According to a Hanbali madhab and according to the text we've just studied, we find it dead, we strip it of its fur, its skin or whatever, all right, and we tan it. So what? Sorry? Correct. The Hanbalis say that tanning process, has it purified the skin or not? No. They made that very clear and they stated that. We said it does, yes? Okay? We said it does. And can they use it though? we just learned this just right now. Yes, we can. All right. According to the Hanbalis, we can use it. Why can we use it? As long as it's only used in dry matters or something like that, then it's okay. The reason they're insisting on dry, because they do not think that the skin has become pure. If they thought the skin had become pure, then it'd be no problem to have water, this, that, whatever, because it wouldn't be transferring najasa. But because they know, according to them, that it's impure, it can only be used in dry matters. It cannot be used in anything else. Okay? Now, Sheikh then he discusses a few points. He goes, and of course there's the opinion that says that it is made pure. It is made pure. And it is permissible. This is another opinion. He goes, it is permissible to use it not only while in dry matters, but also in wet matters as well. And therefore, according to this opinion, it would be permissible to therefore find a cat or a mouse and then strip it of its skin, tan it and use it, and it would be pure as well. It would become pure and we could use it in all as well. So the first opinion, he's basically said that according to the Hanbalis, if they found this cat or mouse, they could tan that skin. It wouldn't be pure, but it would be okay to use in dry matters. He goes, the second opinion is that the tanning does purify, and that's a very important opinion, by the way, you need to be aware of. That even when we come to a pig, and we're just jumping the gun, but there are some ulama, and it's an acceptable opinion, that any animal can be tanned. Any animal, all right? And therefore the skin of any animal could be used by Muslims or whatever. So I want you to understand that's a strong opinion. So therefore, in the light of that opinion, keep that at the back of your head, read all the rest of these opinions in that. So the second opinion is that tanning does purify. And if tanning does purify, then the cat that we find, the skin that we tan and use it, is that what they say many ways to skin a cat? That's just come to me, wallahi, randomly. Is that because people used to do that, yeah? I wonder why they say skin a cat. There are many ways to skin a cat. Because it's a random statement, isn't it? Why would you want to skin a cat for? In the back of my mind, someone said that the phrase was made by the English when they were going through drought, starvation or something, like a couple of 100 years ago, and they had to eat their own domestic pets or something like that. That's what I've got in the back of my mind, but I don't know how true that is. Anyway, so that's the second opinion. According to the third opinion, and it's a Shaykh Uthaymeen's opinion, and listen to this carefully, okay? The third opinion, he goes that in al-jald al-maytata, that the skin of carrion of a dead animal, it does not become purified by tanning. It does not become purified by tanning unless it is a dead animal that when it was alive, not only was it pure, but it was slaughterable, if there's a word like that. Or it could be slaughtered. Does that make sense? Right? Such as a cow, or a sheep, or a camel. And anything which is not permissible to slaughter, brackets, cat, dog, or whatever, I don't know, anything else. Anything which is not permissible to slaughter, then that thing cannot be purified by tanning. وهذا القول هو الراجح. Shaykh Uthaymeen says this is the strongest opinion to me, and this is the opinion of our Shaykh Abdul Rahman al-Sa'di or al-Sa'di. Both in the ways are permissible. Shaykh Abdul Rahman al-Sa'di, you need to know something about. Shaykh Abdul Rahman al-Sa'di, and as I said, the Sa'di was one of the major muftin, major scholars of Saudi Arabia, maybe the preeminent scholar in Saudi Arabia's history in the last 100 years, and he was famously the teacher of Shaykh Uthaymeen, and he himself has released a number of books, and we taught one of his books in completion. How long? 10 years ago. How long did it take? Good, about 3, 4, 5 years, something like that. And we pretty much translated it as well, but we didn't release it because we didn't edit it and everything. And it was called Nur al-Basair, and it's a mini kind of fiqh, everything in a very basic, it's much less low level than this. So Abdul Rahman Sa'di is a big alim. And there's a lot of khilaf in this issue, a lot of difference of opinion in this issue of animals and purifying them and tanning them, which is why all this discussion is being said. But anyway, Shaykh Uthaymeen is saying, I'm following the opinion of my teacher in this, and this is what we're saying. And it's quite a conservative opinion, because like I said, generally when you look at Shaykh Uthaymeen, you feel he's the kind of guy who's willing to go out on a hunch, right? And he's willing to be a bit more liberal, and he's willing to go against the madhabs and so on. But he's pretty much reeled himself in here. He doesn't go with the opinion that you could get a pig and you could slaughter it, you could find a pig and use the skin, or any animal. No, he doesn't have this idea that tanning unrestrictedly purifies everything. He doesn't have that opinion. He has a restricted opinion, which is that the only animals that you can actually use their skin in a pure fashion, even after tanning, are those animals which, when they were alive, not only were they pure, but they were animals that you would normally slaughter. So you got a very small list there, isn't it, really? Like a horse, yeah, like a cow, a camel, and something else. Anything that you couldn't slaughter whilst they were alive, well then it would not be pure to use, even though it might be pure whilst it was dry, because when it's dry, it's not imparting any najasa. Okay? The issue is about impurity. It's not about handling it. So if a person gave to you the skin of the skin of a lion, okay, a lion, and someone gave you a tan lion skin, if that's even possible, for you to use it or whatever, or to handle it, whatever, because it's dry, that wouldn't be a problem, okay? Because as we said, the problem is in the inferring of the najasa when it's wet. Did you understand that? I know it's a bit complicated, but I hope that makes sense. Now, so let's just stop there and he gives some evidences for his position. He goes that the real issue where the illah is with respect to the madhab is that it's about the purity of the animal whilst it's in a state of, while it's alive. Okay? So whatever's pure, then whatever is pure whilst it's alive, then it's allowed to use the skin of that even if it's found dead, as long as it has been tanned, even though it's not pure, even though it's not purified. We can use it in yabis, and we can use it in dry matters. As for the second one, we just said to you, second opinion, we just said that they said that tanning purifies everything, so there's no issue. You can use the skin, you can use it white or dry. As for us, وعلى القول الثالث يطهر إذا كانت الميتة مما تحله الذكاء. And for us, it's permissible to use an animal which, as long as it's permissible for dhaka means that it can be slaughtered, then that's the one we're going with. As for our proof, he said that one of the ahadith which is narrated by Imam Ahmed is right at the bottom there, reference number 4, دِبَاغُهَا ذَكَاتُهَا, that its tanning is its slaughtering, kind of. Meaning that slaughtering is almost the indicator of its tanning. I know that doesn't make sense, okay? But if we say that tanning is slaughtering, then the slaughtering is just tanning, meaning that they are intrinsically linked. Almost to say, what Shaykh Uthaymeen is reading this hadith as, is that when something is slaughtered, that's the real tanning. And if you read this hadith like I just said it now, then every hadith that we just mentioned, especially the hadith of Maymuna, what was the animal that they saw pulling? What was the animal that they saw pulling and they weren't making use of it? And the Prophet ﷺ said that nice if you used it's this, and nice if you... it was a sheep. So the sheep would be covered by this. You see what I'm trying to say? Actually, if you read this hadith like that, all of the surrounding evidences can be nicely rounded into our own opinion. So that's the point. And so then he makes now. So he goes. Therefore, I want to make a statement. He says, the skin of that which is impermissible to eat, even if it was pure in its life, cannot be purified by tanning. Okay? Don't ask me to read these things out again, because I'm not reading it out myself, I'm translating, and that's a mission. So I've got no idea what I just said. I think I said the skin of that which is impermissible to eat, ما يحرم أكله ولو كان طاهرا في الحياة لا يطهر بالدباغ. That even if it was pure in its life, it cannot be purified by tanning. That's Shaykh Uthaymeen's policy statement. Is that clear, everybody? Alright, let's move on. and he says, and he goes, and as for the point, as for people who might say, well, hold on, the cat is pure. The Prophet ﷺ said the cat is pure. So why are you making it not pure? You're saying that we're only going to use the animals which are pure in life that you can eat. Yet the Prophet ﷺ said that the cat is pure with a text, with a nas. And Shaykh Uthaymeen responds in a nice way. He goes, listen, those animals, they were only made pure because of the difficulty it would cause to the people. Not because they were made pure for us to eat. They were made pure for a specific reason. Because لِمَشَقَّةِ النَّاسِ. Okay? Because it's too difficult. Because he said, إِنَّهَا مِن طَوَافٍ عَلَيْكُمْ. They're already all over you. And if we didn't make them pure, then it would be an absolute disaster. Okay? And so that's the position. And he said this is also one of the statements of Shaykh al-Islam ibn Taymiyyah, which makes him even more happy to take it. Makes us even more happy as well. So that's fine as well. And he also said, he's honest enough to say that, and it should be said that Shaykh al-Islam ibn Taymiyyah also did have a second statement that he narrated, and that is what? إِنَّمَا كَانَ طَاهِرًا فِي الْحَيَاةِ فَإِنَّ جَلْدُهُ يَطْهُرُ بِالدَّبَخِ. Yani that actually anything that was pure, i.e. cat even, then even that can then be purified after tanning. So there is that second statement, but obviously Shaykh Uthaymeen is going to base it upon his first. Let's just stop there for a second and have a little chat about what the implication of this is. What's the implication of this? Pigskin's out, right?
And give back your crocodiles.
Crocodile's out. Is crocodile an issue or not? What do you say about crocodile, folks? You see the problem?
So
Why is crocodile out?
because haram to eat. This one.
Is crocodile haram to eat? That's the key question. Is a crocodile haram to eat? What do you guys in Somalia do? Do you eat crocodiles? Is there any people here? Haram? Any people? Who said haram, ya akhi? Didn't the Prophet ﷺ say that everything in the sea is halal?
So it's not sea cat, it's not sea.
It walks around as well, huh? Lives on the land?
It's not sea animal.
Is that the only problem? Is that the only issue? It has fangs, very good. Predator? Good. I mean, we're not covering this now, but I might as well just touch a little bit upon it. So don't start flooding forums with 26,000 questions on animals to eat, because we're not doing it. But we're just discussing a little bit to ram home the point. In principle, yes, for the sake of time now, animals which are mega dangerous, predatory, they're impermissible. Animals with fangs are impermissible. Animals which live on the ground, I don't want to say amphibious because that's something else, but live in the sea and outside, they are questionable. Not all halal and not all haram. Independent. Crocodile has been mahal al-khilaf. Many scholars allowed the crocodile and others didn't. And the safer position is to assume that the crocodile is not allowed. So if we therefore assume that the crocodile is not allowed, then your crocodile skin boots, and I mean no one, to be honest, wears crocodile. I mean only people like Shazad wears crocodile skin boots and things like that. And because that...
You have to check all your statements.
Oh, right.
Messages sent to me and everything.
Everything saying, she said, why are you wearing crocodile skin?
So
why do you shop at John Lewis for your tuna? Why are you buying your dishes in Harrods?
This is all
Sah. Can you please? I just want to say, please stop sending Shazad all these emails asking what brand is best to buy from Harrods, what brands of the China is best from John Lewis, because it was a long time ago when he used to do that. You know. He doesn't remember anything like that now, isn't it, Shaz? That's the reason, isn't it?
Never have I bought dishes from Harrods.
Oh, because you never bought. Right. So crocodile skin's out, yeah? Agreed? That's a benefit to understand, isn't it? Well, snake skin? What do you think about snakes?
They're predators.
Yes.
What do you got?
What's your thoughts behind snake? It's a predator. Is it? Snake a predator? There's a difference between something being poisonous and something being a predator.
What is a predator? It eats mice.
Snake's a predator. Eats mice. That doesn't make it predatory. Has fangs, right? That's an issue. Some of them. What other issues are there?
It's a deadly animal.
Deadly animal? Yeah. Actually, that's probably the strongest reason. Not the fact that it's a deadly animal, but what what the Prophet ﷺ said about the deadly animals. He ﷺ said to kill these animals because they're deadly and they're dirty, yeah, in salah, even in salah, and even outside of salah they're to be killed as well. So some of the ulama, they said that any animal which is which is ordered to be killed is not allowed to be eaten. That's a principle. So therefore, if you can't eat an animal, then to sacrifice it would be of the same thing. So snake skin would be a problem as well. Again, there are some scholars that allow it, but we're just talking about being on the safe side here and using our principles. Yeah.
Is it only 3 types of snakes? You kill them straight away? Or?
Oh, there's lots of detail. I mean, I'm sure that we'll discuss that when the time comes. What other animals? What's other skin is popular?
Alligator.
Alligator, same thing. Yeah, same thing as a crocodile. What other skins people use?
Bear skin.
Bear skin. So that's a good one, isn't it? Bear skin. Hold on. Bear skin or bear fur? Because when you think of a bear, you don't think of skin. You use the fur, right?
Fur isn't separated from the skin.
It isn't separated from the skin. So that's very important. If the skin, because we're coming to that right now, that's actually the next section. Huh?
So some of them not have those mats, those skin rugs.
Is that? See, then you say to me, well, lies. Shaz, if I start telling you about your house and about the big rugs that you have, then you're going to start saying,
whose house is the palace? Mine or yours?
Allah.
Lion skin as well.
So lion's no problem, we know that, because lion is impermissible, right? Lions are impermissible to eat. Tigers impermissible. These are big impermissible animals. But let's forget all this random stuff. Let's talk about the bear skin. Let's talk about what things that we would probably buy or get involved with in the market. Snake skin, crocodile, alligators, common stuff, right? Pig skin, very common stuff. Yeah, using shoes and this and that. So we have to be careful from that. Let's leave fur. Let's talk about skin. What else are there? Are you watching online? These masakin, they're all writing day and night saying da 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 da, and everyone ignores them. I just want to say everybody online that Shazad Nadif ignores you completely. Alright? I never ignore the masses. Isn't it, Bob? Yeah? Alright. So what else? Bear skin. See, the problem with the bear, let's look at the bear. A bear is a predatory animal. It is, it comes for you, it's going to take you out. I don't know. I'll stay away from a bear. In life and in death. Anyway, so there's a few points there, guys. Anyway, have a little think about that. Anyway, let's move on. Now the Sheikh then says, and it's milk. وَلَبَنُهَا. Okay? So he says that
Lizard. Lizard.
A lizard?
Yeah,
lizard skin, yeah?
With missile tea, like.
So yeah, I mean, that's a good one. A lizard skin. So because a lizard is permissible to sacrifice and to cook and to eat, whatever, and so therefore lizard skin theoretically falls under that category. Good, well done. A frog skin. What are you guys doing in Somalia, man? Frog skin. Are you serious, or are you just messing me about, Yara? Now I'm going to be in doubt for the rest of my life now about what Somalis get up to in their food habits. Frog skin. Anyway, talking about the frogs as an animal, according to a number of the ulama, frogs are impermissible. And the reason for that is because there are a number of principles when it comes to what is permissible and impermissible from food, for eating from animals. Things sacrificed for other than the sake of Allah, dirty animals, animals which hunt, animals which are dangerous, deadly, animals which are protected species, like the domesticated donkey, for example, which is haram completely. A mule, which is haram because its mother is a domesticated donkey, even though its father is a horse. Yeah. Whereas a wild horse, a wild donkey, onaja, whatever they're called, an onaga, I don't know. I never knew how to say that word, but a wild donkey, those are allowed. What are some other principles? Animals which are filthy or disgusting. That's also a principle with respect to permissibility. So you'd have to play with all these ideas and principles anyway. And with respect to birds that have talons, they're impermissible. So eagles, falcons, hawks, kites, okay? those are not permissible either. But anyway, listen, let's not get into that. So anyway, the Sheikh says that the milk of a dead animal is impure. وَإِن لَمْ يَتَغَيَّرْ بِهَا. Now, this is important. Shaykh Uthaymeen is going against his own principle and also the principle of Ibn Taymiyyah. Ibn Taymiyyah, by the way, he says no problem with the milk of a carrion. Carrion, dead animal, full udders. Whenever, obviously we don't see this, imagine this, okay, because it's not our life. But out there, if you find a dead cow full of, the milk in its udders is of huge value. And it's going to get milked, all right? So the question is always going to be, is this milk okay to drink and sell and so on and so forth? Majority of scholars say no. Ibn Taymiyyah says yes, but he would say yes. Why? Because he says that the milk, so first of all, why do you think the scholars say no? Is it because it's dead? No. Huh? Common sense. What is dead skin? What is dead animal?
Dead.
Impure, right? The whole chapter is about the fact that when it dies, it becomes najis. Okay? So the idea is that when something is najis, khalas, that's the end of the story. So therefore, the majority of the scholars are saying, because the milk, and especially the Hanbalis, we studied this for weeks and months, in fact. We said that anything which yulaqa and najasa, which is in contact with najasa, what did the Hanbalis say? It becomes najis. What did we say? It's not a problem because it's not transferred and it not changes. It doesn't change. As long as we don't see no sign of najasa, it's not najas. Yeah, we spent like a couple of months perfecting that point. Yeah, that as long as it doesn't change, it's not najas. And that's Ibn Taymiyyah's masterpiece, and that is Shaykh Uthaymeen's very happy with that, and I'm very happy, and many of the contemporary scholars are very much following this opinion. Here again, milk the same. The scholars are saying that, look, dead animal, najis animal. Najis, yani, not even outside, najis inside. Milk, not even outside, milk is inside. It's in contact with that meat and blood and so on and so forth. Of course it's najis. And Ibn Taymiyyah said, no, it's not. I don't care if the animal is najis. If that milk looks clean, yes, and it hasn't got the najasa transferred across, it's no problem. Shaykh Uthaymeen breaks ranks here with Ibn Taymiyyah. He goes, as far as I'm concerned, وَالَّذِي يَظْهَرْ لِي, what seems more correct to me, and I want to say also this is the opinion of Shaykh Muhammad Mukhtar al-Shinqiti as well, hafidhahullah, it's also his opinion as well. He goes that I think that this milk is najis. He goes, I think this milk is najis because it is in touch, it's a small area, it's a small amount, and milk is not like water. I like this point as well that Shaykh Uthaymeen makes. He goes, najasa has water has an intrinsic ability to be able to dilute itself easily from najasa. Whereas if you just think naturally about milk and its thicker nature and whatever, if you thought that got najas, you would think it'd stay najas. It would be much more difficult for it to lose its najasa. He's just using some kind of aqli kind of statement there. He goes, so anyway, so as far as I'm concerned, he goes, I'm going to go on the safe side. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has said, حُرِّمَتْ عَلَيْكُمُ الْمَيْتَةُ, yani that the carrion is haram for you, in Surah Al-Ma'idah verse 3, and he goes, I'm going to go with that and continue all the way through and say that its milk is also haram, because it's right in there. I keep saying it's right in there because now, of course, he's going to make exceptions for the things which are not right in there, i.e. on the outside of a dead animal. This is what this whole discussion is about. You've got to imagine this dead animal. First, that it's najis. Okay, if it's najis, then what's najis on the dead animal? We've got to look at it in layers. So you've got to think of the meat inside, and we know the meat to eat is haram, haram, haram. And then we have the skin, which we're now saying that is purified pretty much if it's a halal animal, which is the second layer. And then you've got the third layer, which is fur, hair, feathers, wool, the four main things on top. And so that's pure, as we're going to find out. So you've got these three layers, and I want you to appreciate that. That's what you've got to break it into. So anyway, yes. Wallahi, jazakallah khair. It's a very good point. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, of course, in the Quran says that we are creating in the cow this milk, which is by its very nature in between filth and blood, right? And it's coming out, and you're being you're being given this milk. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, as one of His miracles, He's giving you this milk as for us to nourish ourselves by. What would the answer to this be? Anyone? What do you think?
In respect to it.
This is what some of the ulama said. They said that we have no doubt that an animal, whilst it is alive, it in of itself is not najis. It in of itself, and its inside is also not najis. You know what I'm saying? So Allah alam. But this is of course referring to a dead animal that you find. The ayah of course is referring to live animals or the live cow. Okay. Then the Shaykh says, and وَكُلَّ أَجْزَائِهَا, and all parts. So the milk and all parts of dead unslaughtered animals are filthy. So all parts like what? Such as the hand or a hoof or a leg or the head or anything. Okay. This is because the ayah in Surah An'am, which we covered last week, 145, is general and not specific. And meta, the word carrion, does not refer to the entire animal. It refers to anything which is dead on that animal. So if you were to cut off a piece of that animal, it would have the same ruling. Okay, so he's happy with this. All right, there's no problem with that, with the Hanbali position there, except for hair and the like. Alright, so now the Hanbalis have made an exception, and this exception has been made by pretty much every scholar ever. Okay, so such as the wool on sheep, and such as the fur on a camel, and such as the feathers on a bird, and such as the hair on a cow, and anything similar to that. He goes, this is all going to be okay. It's all pure. It's all everything. It's okay. There are though two further, not two actually, he mentions a couple. He goes, there are some further exceptions to this though. There are some further exceptions. The bones of a dead animal. The bones of a dead animal. And this is one of the two opinions in the Hanbali madhab. Why would the bones be okay? He said that the bones are being given the ruling here of like the fur and the hair because they're lifeless. What Shaykh is trying to kind of give the idea is that when you look at wool and hair, and what's the common thing about them? That they're separate and lifeless, okay? And they don't have blood in it, they don't have nerve endings and so on, even though they feel a little bit of pain. Shaykh Uthaymeen, when he starts that and he says that's the position of the madhab, he goes, as for me, he goes, as for the second opinion in the madhab, that actually there is a problem. ولكن الذي يظهر المذهب في هذه المسألة هو الصواب لأن الفرق بين العظم وبين ما ليس له نفس سائلة أن الثاني حيوان مستقل وأما العظم فكان نجسا تبعا لغيره ولأنه يتألم فليس كالظفر أو شعر ثم. So he basically said that as far as I'm concerned, bones are also najis as well. Why? He goes, we all know that they have bone marrow, that there's bone marrow in there. We all know that there's a blood supply to the bones as well. We can't compare bones to hair and feathers and things like that. It's not lifeless, and it's very much inside involved the animal as well. So as far as I'm concerned, that bones are not bones are also najis. Bones fall into the same category as a hand, a foot, a head, and so on. He also said that the other example is a fish. Okay, fish. Now a fish, we know, or fish, they're halal. Alright, they're halal, and so therefore anything that we use from a fish is permissible, theoretically speaking. Except, of course, we have a problem. We have a problem because we know that it's not permissible just to cut off something from a fish whilst it's alive, even from a fish, because this is torture. There's a difference between killing live fish, okay? Killing live fish, does that even make sense? That didn't even make sense, did it? Killing fish or fishing, okay, and torturing a fish, right? Cutting something off a live animal is impermissible, even though you might say it's pure and all the rest of it, but the ruling on it is impermissible because the Prophet ﷺ said do not torture animals, and Prophet ﷺ did not allow and cursed, in fact, severely those who took animals for hunting, for target practice, just to shoot them, not to kill them, but just to use as target practice. Okay, so he goes. So Sheikh goes. So he goes. I want to therefore make a statement. I want to make a statement about some rules that we've learned. And this is nice. He goes, we can establish 3 principles. Everything which is halal, and when I say halal, I mean to use and to eat. Okay? To use and to eat. Tanawul, meaning to use and to eat. Every halal is tahir. Every halal is pure. Number 1. Number 2, every najas is haram. Anything which is filthy, it is haram to eat, and so on and so forth. And laysa kullu haramin najasan. And not every single thing which is haram is najas. These are 3 just golden principles. He's saying that are becoming clear to us as we move on forward and forward. That you're learning. Okay? So not every haram is impure. Not every haram is impure. The second one is that every najas is haram. Every single impurity, every impure thing is haram. He also adds a 4th one. He also says that it is not necessary that a pure thing is halal. لا يلزم من الطهارة الحل. It is not necessary that just because something is pure that it becomes that it is haram. That it is halal. That is halal. I'm thinking of, like, I don't know, plastic. Because I don't know, if you eat that, then
Alcohol.
you probably die or something. Alcohol is much more common sense example. Yeah, very good. Okay.
Well, cat, isn't it? Cat.
Cat. Yeah, good. A cat is good. Is a good example of this. Ahsant. Yeah, because obviously we know that it is pure, but we can't eat it. Yes, happy with that? Yeah, and also Sheikh also says that it's important while we're talking about the hair, an important principle. It goes, according to me, this must be shaved off. Wool and hair and everything must be shaved off. It's not permissible to pluck off. And the reason he goes, that's a problem. He goes, that's why you've got to be very, very careful with feathers. He says, because a feather is plucked out and it comes out with some of the skin. And likewise, if you pluck out hair, every follicle that you pluck, then it comes out with something from the skin which is self-najas. But if you shave it, then obviously it leaves that in the skin, and so therefore you're getting the pure top part. Is that clear, everybody? All right, is that clear? And he also says, so he goes, so what we can conclude from this is an animal should be looked at in this following manner. He goes, a dead animal, a carrion, should be looked at in the following manner, in 3 parts. Its hair, etc., and that's pure. Its meat and anything which is inside the skin, then this is impure. You can't benefit from it via purification. And then the skin, which is in between these 2 layers. And that will depend then upon what kind of category it falls in terms of pure, impure, whilst it was alive. We've covered that. Is that clear? So this is a very good way of putting the point forward. There's some more discussion there but I don't think there's any real reason to do that. And let's just quickly then finish. And then Sheikh says, and something separated from a living animal has the same ruling as if it was separated from an unslaughtered animal. What does that mean? That anything which is alive and it comes off whilst it's alive, then this is haram. Okay, this is haram. But the scholars, they gave 2 exceptions to this. This is common sense. Yeah. So if you find an animal, you just cut off his leg. This is haram. Its ruling is like it was carrion. Is that clear? Everyone understand that? I want to make sure we're not going just too fast. Yeah. You cut off something from a living animal, it's haram because the ruling is like as if it was dead, like carrion. Okay, but there are 2 exceptions. The first exception is game, what is being at-tarida. At-tarida is basically something which is being hunted, and something which is being hunted is not necessarily what we're talking about by what we're talking about. Maybe a big animal or a quick animal. And people are using spears and knives, and Imam Ahmed described that as well. He said that that's what they used to do all the time, and they would go and they would stab the animal and cut it, and people would be, attacking this animal and so on and so forth, and parts might come off and everything, and it's too dangerous to do dhabh, but it's halal for them to eat, even though the animal is not sacrificed, because the manner of killing that specific animal are the blows and the cuts that are done by the swords and by the knives, etc., etc. And so Imam Ahmad here made that very, very clear. He goes, وَإِذَا لَمْ يُقْدَرَ عَلَى ضَبْحِهَا فَإِنَّهَا تَحِلُّ بِعَقْرِهَا فِي أَيِّ مَوْضِعٍ مِّن بَدَنِهَا. Because it's not possible to get to its throat to do the dhabh, then however you kill the animal by making the Bismillah and you're going at it in a hunt, then this is permissible. Now this, in theory, wouldn't be, because of this point that we just said, because it's a live animal and you're cutting it to pieces and whatever. So therefore the argument would be, if you were following this text exactly as it was, that with a game animal, if you're cutting it and so on, then it will become haram and carrion during the process. This is the exception. It doesn't. Imam Ahmad said that this has happened so many times in the Maghazi, every time the Prophet ﷺ went out, and this is how they were living and this is how they're eating, and never did we find any kind of criticism against this from the Prophet ﷺ. And the second and final exception, and on this we close, he said, and this is very interesting, he said the acquiring of the musk pod. Okay? The other exception is the acquiring of the musk pod, something which is called fa'ratul misk. This musk pod is taken from a deer. Misk. Misk is actually this actual biological, most of them are now synthetic, artificial, right? But pure misk, it sells for like thousands of pounds, because it's taken from this gland in the deer, in male deer and gazelles, I think, or something like that. And this pouch, and it's like protected, this is actually in the abdomen of the animal. And if you kill the animal, you affect the misk. And to get the best misk, it's a bit sick this, but to get the best misk, you're literally going right in there and pulling it out, kind of thing. Or some kind of sick behavior, I don't know, right? But the point is that it comes out, and when it comes out in this manner, it doesn't bleed, blood doesn't get involved with it, and that's how you get the most best, super high quality misk. And because this was a practice that was done by the Arabs at the time, in fact still is done in a minimal way, but as I said, synthetic now, misk has taken over, then this is also an exception to the rule. So you've seen two practical exceptions to the rule. In hunting, when it's you and the animal and you can't sacrifice it, then you make your intention, you go at it, whatever comes off, cuts off, it's not carrion anymore, it's halal. And this process for getting the misk, because it has been praised, the perfume has been praised, and this is the only way. It might be possible, and Allah knows best, I'm not giving ijtihad or fatwa here, but maybe some scholars might say this is impermissible now, because back then they didn't have the ability to create synthetic perfumes and misk, and now we do, and therefore we should avoid doing that, especially if it comes to preservation of animals, etc., etc. Does that make sense? Yeah, that's possible. I'm not giving that fatwa. I'm just saying that if the illah is because the Prophet ﷺ allowed it because he was a lover of misk, and misk had value, and it was tradable, and to wear good perfume is a plus point, then today that can happen without having to kill the animal. So Allahu a'lam. Allah knows best. I don't want to give a ruling on that. And that, ladies and gentlemen, Jazakumullahu khairah, is the end of the entire chapter of the principles of purification, which is amazing. Alhamdulillah. That means that we've done surfaces, we've done the concept of purity, we've done utensils and tanning and all this kind of stuff. And now we actually, next week, subhanAllah, and I'm getting really excited now, we actually get into what purification everyone understands, like istinja and wudu, and finally getting some rubbing down and finally getting some stuff down. So next week, inshallah, we start istinja, okay? So, jazakumullah khair. We don't have time for questions. I had to go over a little bit to make sure we finished, but I hope that that's all okay. Anyone who has a sharh, you'll realize there's a poem there right at the end, page 98, and it's incredibly convenient that it's time for Isha, because I have no idea how to translate that. So I've literally been saved by the bell. Jazakumullahu khairan, make the adhan. And yes, for those people who are staying online, we did agree that we will stream as part of this same recording the qira'ah of Shaykh Abdul Wahab. So just hang on for the qira'ah in the next 2 minutes. Allahu Akbar, Allahu Akbar, Allahu Akbar, Allahu Akbar.
أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله.
لا إله إلا الله.
أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله. أشهد أن محمدا رسول الله.
أشهد أن محمدا رسول الله.
أشهد أن محمدا رسول الله.
أشهد أن محمدا رسول الله.
حي على الصلاة. حي على الصلاة.
لا حول.
حي على الفلاح. حي على الفلاح. الله أكبر الله أكبر. لا إله إلا الله. الله أكبر الله أكبر. أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله. أشهد أن محمدا رسول الله. حي على الصلاة. حي على الفلاح. قد قامت الصلاة قد قامت الصلاة. الله أكبر الله أكبر. لا إله إلا الله.
لا إله إلا الله. استووا. استووا. أقيموا صفكم واعتدلوا. Switch off your mobiles please and don't block the access. الله أكبر. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الحمد لله رب العالمين. الرحمن الرحيم. مالك يوم الدين. إياك نعبد وإياك نستعين. اهدنا الصراط المستقيم. صراط الذين أنعمت عليهم غير المغضوب عليهم ولا الضالين. آمين. لقد كان لسبإ في مسكنهم آية. جنتان عن يمين وشمال. كلوا من رزق ربكم واشكروا له. بلدة طيبة ورب غفور. فأعرضوا فأرسلنا عليهم سيل العرم وبدلناهم جنتين ذواتي أكل خمط وأثل وشيء من سدر قليل. ذلك جزيناهم بما كفروا وهل نجازي إلا الكفور. وجعلنا بينهم وبين القرى التي باركنا فيها قرى ظاهرة وقدرنا فيها السير. سيروا فيها ليالي وأياما آمنين. فقالوا ربنا باعد بين أسفارنا وظلموا أنفسهم فجعلناهم أحاديث ومزقناهم كل ممزق. إن في ذلك لآيات لكل صبار شكور. الله أكبر. سمع الله لمن حمده. الله أكبر. الله أكبر. الله أكبر. الله أكبر. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الحمد لله رب العالمين الرحمن الرحيم مالك يوم الدين إياك نعبد وإياك نستعين اهدنا الصراط المستقيم صراط الذين أنعمت عليهم غير المغضوب عليهم ولا الضالين آمين. ولقد صدق عليهم إبليس ظنه فاتبعوه إلا فريقا من المؤمنين وما كان له عليهم من سلطان إلا لنعلم من يؤمن بالآخرة ممن هو منها في شك وربك على كل شيء حفيظ. قل ادعوا الذين زعمتم من دون الله لا يملكون مثقال ذرة في السماوات ولا في الأرض وما لهم فيهما من شرك وما له منهم من ظهير. ولا تنفع الشفاعة عنده إلا لمن أذن له حتى إذا فزع عن قلوبهم قالوا ماذا قال ربكم قالوا الحق وهو العلي الكبير. الله أكبر. سمع الله لمن حمده. الله أكبر. الله أكبر. الله أكبر. الله أكبر. الله أكبر. الله أكبر. سمع الله لمن حمده. الله أكبر. الله أكبر. الله أكبر. الله أكبر. سمع الله لمن حمده. الله أكبر. الله أكبر. الله أكبر. الله أكبر. السلام عليكم ورحمة الله. السلام عليكم ورحمة الله.